في اختلاف الليل والنهار وما خلق الله في السماوات والأرض لآيات لقوم يتقون.
I don't care who's doing better than me. I'm not in competition with anyone else. The only rival I have is the person I was yesterday. Last year, I was different. I've grown, I've learned, I've improved, and that's what truly matters. It's me versus me. Every day, I wake up ready to push myself further. I challenge my limits, striving to be the best version of myself. I won't let someone else's success make me feel small. Their journey is theirs, and mine is mine. I know where I've come from, and I know where I'm going, so I keep pushing forward, not to be better than anyone else, but to be better than I was. That's my purpose, and when I look back one day, I'll know that every step, every struggle, every victory was mine alone. My growth, my journey, that's my legacy.
America is not my home. America is a hotel. Absolutely, we built this country, but this ain't my home. Africa is my home. So I'm going to have my hotel and I'm going to have my home and I'm going to build. But what am I going to build, right? Why am I going to build this? Why am I so energetic, as you say? Well, I'm the trust fund, baby, to a $1 trillion empire. And the stipulations on me receiving and being a beneficiary of those finances is my work ethic, my awareness, and me manifesting. Oh, I got more work to do. Okay? America is not a home, it's a hotel. Africa is home. America is the hotel. It's just a place of business where the transactions go down. And we don't get any power because we don't have an adequate, proper vested interest in America.
Right.
We're not even doing import-export business. This is what Marcus Garvey, the great Marcus Garvey, this is what he was talking about. And we haven't picked up from where he left off. We still talking about let my people go, Black Lives Matter. It's not about that. It's not about that.
It's not about that.
So
at
you're never gonna win because that's not so America. Unless you keep fighting that fight, thinking you're winning, but you're not. It's like a fish is not gonna climb up a tree. A fish will never get to the top. A fish ain't gonna climb a tree. White man gonna let you put all the trees in the water you want. Go ahead, fish. Black Lives Matter. You know what I'm saying? What you doing? Right? That you fighting the wrong battle. Right. And again, I'm not desensitized to our plight.
Whenever I talk to an American, whenever I have to talk to an American, I kind of go into that interaction assuming that I'm dealing with someone who's not normal. That's a shame. And I think everyone outside of America approaches it the same way. You know, even if they don't consciously realize that this is what they're doing, you have to make adjustments when you're talking to an American. You kind of lower your expectations. You know, you go into it knowing that you're not going to have a normal interaction. Just for example, I don't know whether or not the person sitting across from me is even sober or not, because at least half of the population drinks alcohol regularly. 1 out of every 5 Americans is an alcoholic. I think it's something like 1 in 3 do drugs. 1 in 6 Americans are either misusing or abusing prescription drugs at any given time. Not to mention 1 out of every 5 Americans has some sort of mental, psychological, or emotional disorder. I mean, this is a big thing that they talk about, the mental health crisis. We've talked about that before. So literally, you never know what you're going to get when you sit down and talk to an American. These are people that don't value the sanctity of their own minds, their own cognition. They're willing to abuse their own brains. And they act like this isn't a major issue. Well, it is a major issue. This is a people who habitually inflict self-harm on their own ability to reason and to think. It's no wonder that so many Americans subscribe to some very strange ideas and beliefs and conspiracy theories and so on. Just under half of all Americans believe in things like astrology and ghosts and UFOs and aliens and lizard people and what have you, reincarnation, manifestation, all these quasi-spiritual New Age beliefs and whatnot, superstitions. So this is a people who don't take their own minds seriously. And this is what their culture has done to them. This is what their society has done to them. 1/3 of Americans are below literacy levels and haven't even read a book in the last year, in the last 12 months. Not to mention that they're so heavily propagandized, indoctrinated, and manipulated by their own media and their own schools. And most Americans don't even leave the United States. I think it's less than half of Americans even have a passport. So the chances are very low. If you come across a random American, the chances are very low that person is not under the influence of alcohol or drugs or medication, mental illness, misinformation, disinformation, miseducation, or ignorance. This is what your society has done to you.
I know the Quran has never changed. In the Arabic, I don't want to hear about translations. In the Arabic, Muslims pray in the Arabic. Christians can't even speak Aramaic. The majority can't even say 10 words in his language. Don't compare the two, and it's not to be arrogant. The reason we pray in Arabic is to preserve the book. That's why me, a white boy, I pray in Arabic. A Chinese Muslim prays in Arabic, not to glorify the Arab culture. Sometimes there's a lot I disagree about it. It's to preserve what we believe to be the final book of God, which is why it has miracles that I can show you. To me, there's like 200-300 scientific miracles. That's what drew me. I was like, wow, okay, so scientifically, there's just no way. How could he have known these things? That fresh water and salt water don't mix. You have to know how to calculate density. Mm-hmm. It's to the invisible eye. You can't tell they're not mixing because it kind of goes like layers, like pancakes on top of each other. You have to know how to calculate density. Mm-hmm. How did the Prophet Muhammad know if he wasn't from divine influence? Bro, every Ramadan, I see people get up in front of the mosque and lead the prayer for the whole month. They're called Hafiz. They literally recite this book without and word for word. And if they make a mistake, there's 100, 500 people that know at least one of those verses. Like everyone knows the verses. Mm-hmm. So I've witnessed many times in the last 42 years of my life where people pray and say the whole book. That's how God protected this book. That's why to me it blew my mind away as a Muslim. And that this religion said that God sent messengers and prophets throughout time all over the world. Throughout time. He didn't just pick one people. And my theory was the demonic realm shifted people away from God, through statues and idols throughout history. That's why a lot of the Anunnaki claims they make sense in some ways. But to me, that's just the deception of the devil using the same trick throughout time to get people away from the Creator. We're altered. There are contradictions in there that don't make sense to the original 10 Commandments. How can you tell me Jesus is God and then in one verse he tells you, I'm not even good. Why are you calling me good? Only God's good. So which one is it? 10 Commandments said don't make pictures, don't make images, don't worship anything but God. But you guys are making pictures, statues, crosses, idols. Forget Muhammad. Explain. And I love how Christians go, well, what do the Muslims know? Because Muhammad came 600 years after Jesus. Well, how about Jesus came how many thousands of years after Moses? Who was he then to give a new rule or a new book? Your logic for that already, you cancel yourself out. They have no argument against that. For you to argue, well, why did Muhammad come after Jesus? And then who was Jesus after Moses? My favorite thing about Islam is I know that it's truly one of the most beautiful religions when it comes to the differences in the human race. I have never walked into a mosque as a white boy, and we're the minority in this faith. I've gone to some of the most hood places you could go, where I'm literally the only white person in the entire mosque, and I didn't feel uncomfortable. I didn't feel like an outsider. I felt like I'm amongst my own, and every brother would greet me. I have noticed it does not matter where in the world I have traveled, and I've been a lot of places in this world. It is this brotherhood where it doesn't matter how I look. It doesn't matter the color of my skin. I feel equal to my brothers. They feel equal to me. We don't look down upon each other. These are the things I love the most about Islam, the equality, because as an Albanian, my people suffered persecution too, massacred because of who we are for generations. So just because I'm not white doesn't mean I haven't experienced what hatred and racism is. It's not just limited to African Americans or black people. There's many people that have been oppressed throughout time. So I just love how this faith could turn slaves into some of the most amazing human beings ever. Literally, like Bilal. People should read about his life.
When I see people saying the Muslims colonized Africa the same way that the Western powers colonized Africa. I mean, really? Islam spread across North Africa and East Africa and West Africa largely through trade and interaction. And that led to the creation of powerful indigenous independent kingdoms, regional empires and dynasties, centers of learning and commerce, created by African Muslims for the benefit of Africans. So which land under Western colonization did the colonizers make richer? And which colonized country was a sovereign empire ruled exclusively by the indigenous people? It's an absurd comparison. You have the Mali Empire, the Ghana Empire, the Songhai, the Bornu, the Fulani Empire, the Sultanate of Zanzibar. The spread of Islam created kings. Western colonization created slaves. When Islam spread in Africa, literacy spread, education spread, trade and commerce spread, prosperity spread, development spread. And again, this was all done by African Muslims, not by outsiders, not by colonizers, by the indigenous people. people. Contrast that with the British and the French and the Dutch and their colonization, and then still tell me that the Muslims were colonizers. Well, the difference is night and day. They de-developed Africa. They plundered Africa. They subjugated and destroyed Africa. When I tell you that the countries of the Sahel were among the most developed and richest lands in the world, you can't believe it today. You see how things are now. The poverty, the lack of infrastructure, the violence, and the instability. Well, the only reason it's like that is Western colonization. Those lands, the lands of the Sahel, were the envy of the world. And you made them, according to Frantz Fanon, the wretched of the earth. We spread prosperity and you spread misery. We built and you tore down. We produced and you stole. Again, you can't try to say that your colonization spread through trade and missionary work. Again, that's what you're going to try and say. And that Islam also spread through trade and da'wah, which is like missionary work. And you can pretend that these are the same. That's because you're using trade, in your case, as a euphemism for plunder and theft. And the proof is in the poverty. Whereas in our case, it actually was trade and the proof is in the prosperity. You call what you did missionary work, but it was coerced conversion, subjugation, and brainwashing to create compliant, self-loathing colonial subjects. Scholars of Islam and Sufis and traders traveled into Africa and interacted with the people and taught people, and people chose Islam. And then they built for themselves what they built for themselves.
A man with few friends or no circle at all, that's someone you don't want to cross. He's learned through tough experiences that quality always beats quantity. He doesn't need a crowd to feel strong. His power comes from within. While others chase after validation, he chooses to walk alone. He's seen the fake friendships, the drama, and the betrayals, and he's cut all of it out. Now he stands untouched, at peace. He doesn't need anyone to make him whole. He's complete on his own. The end. One genuine friend holds more value than 100 phony ones. His circle is small, his trust is earned, and anyone who brings trouble is swiftly removed. He values his time, treating it like royalty. He knows what he's after and never settles for less. So when you meet a man with a small circle or none at all, don't mistake it for weakness. That's real strength. That's confidence. He doesn't need your approval because he's already won the only fight that truly matters, the one with himself.